Hello students, today we are going to learn about various cognitive changes in early adulthood. The objectives behind this particular lesson is that to know what are the various cognitive developments in the early adulthood, also to find out various traditional approaches to cognitive development in early adulthood, and also what difficulties these early adults face in their education related areas. Now, the adult's thinking becomes more personal, integrative and practical in their lives. Cognitive factors are very essential in the early adulthood. They have more problem solving skills, they have to be more reasoning with the particular problems that they encounter, and for which most early adults at the age of 18 and over will move into adult roles and responsibilities and may learn a trade, work and pursue higher education. They fully understand various abstract concepts, they reason, they fully understand various consequences and personal limitations. They also identify their respective career goals and also strive to achieve them. They secure their autonomy and build and test their decision making skills. Now, the decision making skills is a crucial job during early adulthood, because so far in their childhood and adolescent period they are dependent on their elders, especially the parents, because the parents are the one who decide about their future. But when it comes to the early adulthood, now they start making their own decisions, maybe a small decision whether to choose a particular subject, to choose a particular skill or to choose a particular relationship has to do with their individual decision making process. Now, a developmentalist called Jessila Leibovy suggests that the nature of thinking changes qualitatively during early adulthood. The theory involves the transition from adolescent perception of all the possibilities to adult perception of the practical and realistic possibilities. There is a concept known as pragmatic thought, which talks about a structural advance in which logic becomes a tool for solving the real world problems. Can we discuss about real world problems for a while? What are the real world problems? Can you think of a few real world problems, like in terms of family problems, personal problems, health related, work related problems, relationship problems? So, these are the real world problems where the early adult encounters and for which he has to use his common sense in order to counter, in order to cope up. When adults choose a career path, they eliminate all the alternative possibilities. They fine tune their learning for one particular environment and its demands. Now, during this particular early adulthood, they accept the inconsistencies or the discrepancies of life and also in people and develop thinking that accepts imperfection and compromise. They learn to compromise with people, they learn to compromise with others, they also learn to live with people who are imperfect. This includes awareness of multiple truths, integration of logic with reality and tolerance for the gap between the ideal and the real world. There are many approaches to the cognitive development during early adulthood, for which we are going to discuss one by one. The first one is the post-formal thought. The post-formal thought is the fifth stage of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Here in his theory, the thought or the thinking becomes restructured in early adulthood. Post-formal thought recognizes that one's own perspective is only one of many potentially valid views and that life entails many inconsistencies. Not only our own perspective, but there might be many other perspectives in the available environment which can also be utilized in problem solving. Post-formal thought is well suited to addressing problems that have many solutions, Post-formal thought is more practical, flexible and more dialectical. There are different types of post-formal thinking, in which the first one is the relativistic type of thinking. This is an idea that some proposition cannot be adequately described as true or false. There might be many proposals in terms of a marriage proposal. So, we cannot decide that a particular marriage proposal is the right choice or the wrong choice for an individual. Dialectical thinking is a form of thought involving recognition and acceptance of an irony or uncertainty. Say for example, accident, loss of property or illness, this can be recognized and accepted by the individual, that which cannot be avoided. Reflective judgment is another type of post-formal thought, which is the ability to identify the underlying assumptions of different perspectives on controversial issues. Any hypothetical statements that can be made on a particular controversial issue, say for example, political issue or maybe a family issue. Now, Schie's stages of development also talks about various stages in the adult's life. Schie's theory regards the goals of mental activity. There is a shift from acquiring knowledge to using it. So, acquiring knowledge and its practical application is of greatest concern. Many of us acquire knowledge, but we fail to apply it in our daily lives. But in this particular theory, it is beautifully explained how from the childhood till old age, the individual applies knowledge and also uses it. The first stage is acquisitive stage. Acquisitive stage begins from childhood and adolescence. At this particular point of time, people acquire knowledge through questioning. They develop enhanced processing abilities, strategies for use of information, and they combine and integrate it. If you might have observed children and adolescents, they are more curious to know certain things by asking what is this, how to do this, what is the number, how can I make a call, and so many other aspects which related to gadgets. Not only gadgets, in our daily life also. The second stage of Schie's theory is the achieving stage. In early adulthood, especially this achieving stage is attained. Here people adapt their cognitive skills to particular situations. Cognitive skills that may involve problem solving in the work related, that may involve emotions, especially with regard to their marital relations, childbearing, which affect their long term goals. These are the problems that do not have a single right solution. Rather, there are many solutions for one single problem. How a person negotiates getting his or her needs met and cooperates with others sets a trajectory for the remaining life course. The third stage is the responsibility stage. This responsibility stage, as it is indicated rightly, especially taken place in the middle adulthood. The individuals expand their responsibility to others, mentoring at work, raising children, taking care of elderly parents. Now, reasoning has to do with social obligations, setting boundaries, knowing when and how to let go of circumstances that one can't change. Executive stage is the most advanced and a complex stage. How? It characterizes people whose responsibilities have been very complex. Job responsibilities include monitoring of others, how others are working, especially the executive roles, and also it requires that they understand the dynamics of institutional structure, incoming information, goals and personal needs of employees or family members. The reintegrative stage, this occurs in the late adulthood. This involves people at retirement re-examining and reintegrating their interests and values to produce a satisfying quality of life. Another theory that we are going to discuss is Sternberg's Triarchic theory of intelligence. Sternberg's theory talks about various factors that are in line with Spearman's S factor and G factor. His triarchic theory includes 3 subtheories: componential subtheory, experiential and contextual. If you go into the details of each subtheory, in componential subtheory, Sternberg believes that analytical intelligence, that is academic problem solving, is based on the joint operations of meta components and performance components and knowledge acquisition components of intelligence. Let us discuss these 3 components briefly. What are meta components? Meta components include controlling, monitoring and evaluating aspects of cognitive processes. These are the executive functions to order and organize performance and knowledge acquisition components. Performance components help in executing the strategies assembled by the meta components. Now, they are the cognitive processes that enable to encode stimuli, hold information, make calculations, perform mental calculations and also retrieve information from the long term memory. The third component is the knowledge acquisition component. Now, the knowledge acquisition components are the process used in gaining and storing new knowledge, that is capacity for learning. The strategies you use to memorize things exemplify the processes that fall into this category. Next is the experiential subtheory. Here Sternberg considers that creative facet to consist of the ability which allows people to think creatively and that which allows people to adjust creatively and effectively to new situation. Sternberg also believes that more intelligent individuals will also move from consciously learning in a novel situation to automating the new learning so that they can attend to other tasks. The last is the contextual subtheory. Now, this is the contextual aspect of intelligence and reflects how the individual relates to the external world about him or herself. During early adulthood, IQ remains stable. This has to be understood by every one of you, because since childhood, early adolescence and also adolescent period, there is a stable IQ level. Now, the second subtheory is the creative intelligence or experiential subtheory. Sternberg considers the creative side to consist of the ability which allows people to think creatively and that which allows people to adjust creatively and efficiently to new situations. Sternberg believes that more intelligent individuals will also move from consciously learning in a novel situation to automating the new learning so that they can attend to other tasks. In this regard, Sternberg talks about 2-facet subtheory. One is novelty and the second is automatization. What is the basic assumption behind this? That there are 2 broad classes of abilities in individual with intelligence: novelty skills and automatization skills. The ability to deal with novel demands and the ability to automatize information processing constitutes the 2 ends of intelligence continuum. Novel tasks or situations are good measures of intellectual abilities because they assess an individual's ability to apply existing knowledge to new problems. Now, we are going to discuss about creativity, the role of creativity in early adulthood. Creativity is also considered to be one of the cognitive component. The major works of many creative individuals were produced during early adults. If you check back or if you find out, many early adults at that particular age are found to be very creative. They may be poets, they may be singers, they may be music directors, they may be a lyricist. So, there are many interests which makes them to be more creative in their profession. It has to be understood that not everybody or not all are creative people. There are only a few people who are creative in their profession. Sometimes expertise is also different from creativity. In order to be creative, it requires lot of time and energy that has to be considered. What do we require to be creative? Innovative style, tolerance of ambiguity, special drive to succeed, and a willingness to experiment and try again in the face of failures. These are the various factors that require to be creative. Now, college experience. What is the role of college in the early adulthood cognitive development? Education has a major role to play in everyone's life. This is very, very important. And college experience is described by many people as the most influential period of adulthood. Not only are students exploring and developing careers, they are exploring their values, social skills, and are being exposed to diversity on many levels. In college, there is a vast scope to learn life skills, values, attitudes, careers, not only careers, in terms of social support also. I want to ask you, what could be the psychological impact of attending college? You all must be attending college, you are all studying various courses. Now, there is a psychological impact of attending college. The first is attitudes and values broaden. From primary education to secondary education to higher education, there is a shift or there is a change in our attitudes towards each other, attitude towards education, attitude towards the society. Similarly, they show increasing interest in performing arts, social issues, and also develop greater tolerance for different values and issues of different people. Moral reasoning also expands. By attending college, there is an increase of high self-esteem, and also there is a greater self-understanding. How does self-understanding and high self-esteem increase? Not only attending college, but these developments occur as students get more involved into the academic and non-academic pursuits. Living in a dorm makes a difference. Since students get completely immersed in the atmosphere of the college, they have a wider scope in getting into these social, academic and political aspects. Not everybody is fortunate to attend to college. There are some dropouts in the college. Now, many early adults drop out from their colleges. There are many reasons in terms of lack of motivation, in terms of illnesses, in terms of responsibilities which are of utmost priorities other than education. But apart from all this, many other reasons, personal reasons in terms of relationship problems, physical health conditions, sometimes financial conditions also have a major role to play with regard to dropping out of college. There is a higher rate of dropouts in schools, but many colleges, especially the professional colleges, say for example medical colleges, engineer colleges, they are also on the high rate of dropouts which are mostly unreported. The psychological impact of attending college is very, very crucial, because once the individual is attending colleges, it becomes a daily routine for the individual in terms of interactions, in terms of social contacts, in terms of knowledge acquisition, and also in terms of gaining a self understanding about oneself, their potentialities, their abilities as such. Not only knowing their own potentialities, but also there is a rise in their high self esteem, for which they are more oriented towards achievements, oriented towards careers, they are oriented towards achieving a particular goal. Vocational choice is a major element of identity development. It is very, very important that early adulthood is a platform for establishing a profession or a vocation. Work offers self-respect, a group of like-minded people to connect with, a certain economic status definitely. There are many factors that influence vocational choice. Say for example, family. Family is one of the most influential and powerful, simply because what a student sees in his or her family is what seems doable and familiar. Youth aspirations correlate closely with jobs of the parents. Say for example, the father is a professional doctor, definitely the child would like to model the father who is a doctor. This has to do with educational aspirations and successes. High socio-economic status parents can also network for their kids, getting them summer jobs and helping them see the work in a meaningful way or in a productive way. These parents also stress independence, so their children will tend to seek higher status jobs to please them. Another influential person is the teacher. Teachers can influence a student's choice of field. Say for example, if a student wants to become a scientist, the teacher has to push him or encourage him by finding particular books and encouraging the student to attend various seminars and workshops, so that this enthusiasm continues in the student's life. And also this is especially true for students from low socio-economic families. I would like to conclude that in this particular chapter on cognitive changes in early adulthood is of greater concern, in which logic becomes the most essential component to solve their real world problems. Apart from this, we also have learned that the various traditional approaches to cognitive development are very essential in learning various cognitive stages and developments in the early adulthood.